Welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason and this is a Matchbox MB152 Volkswagen Golf GTI. A very nice casting that I craved for when I was a child, but never managed to get a hold of. Until now. It was in the Matchbox mainline between 1985 and 1988, continuing outside of the US until 1991. Today I'll be customizing this model. A while back, I picked up a set of decals for the Golf from Rallye models, replicating this car. This number 7 car was driven to a mighty impressive 5th place at the 1987 Monte Carlo Rally. It was the opening round of the season and the first under the new Group A regulations. These replaced Group B, which was banned from rallying by the FIA in 1986 following a spate of driver and spectator deaths. New regulations meant new cars with reduced power, but also the addition of production and two-wheel drive championships complementing the existing drivers and manufacturers championships. Audi, Ford, Lancia, Mazda and Subaru brought four-wheel drive cars to Group A, while Volkswagen and Renault among other manufacturers stuck to two-wheel drive. VW retained Swedish driver Kenneth Eriksson for 1987 after winning the Group A sub-championship the previous year. The Monte Carlo Rally would be dominated by the all-wheel drive entries, particularly the Lancias, which won 17 of the 25 stages completed. It was a close-fought battle between their drivers Juha Kankkunen and Miki Biasion, with the latter taking the crown by 59 seconds on the final stage. Walter Röhrl in the Audi 200 Quattro crept up on the leading pair in the closing stages with 6 stage wins. He fell shy of Biasion's time by 4 minutes and 10 seconds, securing the final podium position. In 4th was Mazda's Ingvar Carlsson in the 323 four-wheel drive, but in 5th overall came Eriksson in the Golf. The plucky front-wheel drive GTI performed well in the snowy and icy conditions. Eriksson put in a consistent performance across the event, with his best stage result being 4th. He won the two-wheel drive class, ahead of Jean Ragnotti's Renault 11 Turbo and Erwin Weber in the sister Volkswagen. Eriksson would later take 3rd overall at the Portuguese Rally, and then, after a series of 3 mechanical retirements, took 2nd in New Zealand. Due to WRC rules of the time, 2 rallies were selected to not earn points in the Manufacturers' Championship. In 1987, the Rally of New Zealand was one of them. Manufacturers would often sit these rounds out, or send alternates or local drivers. 2 events later, Eriksson would be outright winner at the Rallye Côte. Can you tell which other rally missed out on manufacturer points? You guessed it, the Ivory Coast. Despite this, the points the driver accumulated continued to count towards the Drivers' Championship. As such, come the end of the year, Eriksson found himself in 4th in the standings, eclipsed by only Lancia drivers. He took the two-wheel drive class title. Volkswagen also found themselves in 4th overall in the Manufacturers' Championship, behind Lancia, Audi and two-wheel drive competitors Renault. Now this isn't the first time I've worked on a Golf casting. I customised a rare MC Toy first generation Golf GTI model a few years ago, while more recently I restored a completely obliterated Golf Cabrio by Siku in July last year. I've also worked on a more modern Mark 7 GTI for Kyle even earlier last year, but this is my first go at a Mark 2. The 2nd generation Golf arrived in 1983. Its wheelbase grew by 3 inches, as did its length and width by 7.1 and 2.2 inches respectively. While the body shell grew, it kept the flowing lines of its predecessor, albeit slightly more rounded. It continued to be produced as a 3 or 5 door hatchback, but a new sedan model would be introduced in 1984 called the Jetta. As I explained in my Siku Cabrio video, no cabriolet version was made on the Mark II platform. Instead, the Mark I would receive updates through until 1993 for convertible options. Trim levels on the Mark II included the C, CL, GL and range-topping carat, the measure for gold purity, not the vegetable. This was available until 1986, with a GT on offer from 1987. The number of engine options increased from the Mark I. Volkswagen offered the GTI variant and added a 16-valve option in 1986. The 8-valve carried over from the later Mark 1s and produced 110 horsepower, while the 16-valve made 137. North American GTIs would receive a 2-litre 16-valve engine only found in Passats and Corrados. A supercharged 8-valve GTI arrived in 1988 called the G60. This pushed out 158 horsepower. A short run of 71 G60 limited models developed by Volkswagen Motorsport made 207 horsepower. This was also mated to a sports transmission and the Synchro all-wheel drive system. The Synchro was a model line in itself, first presented in 1986. These Golfs were 5-door 1.8s and were highly priced, 30% more than an equivalent front-wheel drive car. Between 1986 and 1989, 16,000 were built. They proved unpopular due to the raised floor to accommodate the drivetrain and its loss of performance due to its increased weight. Luggage space was reduced by 25% over the regular Golf. However, 7,735 Golf Countries were built using the same all-wheel drive system. These had a raised ground clearance, a skid plate, front and rear bull bars, a subframe to protect the differential and prop shaft, and a distinctive externally mounted spare wheel. In 1989, the Rallye Golf was produced as a homologation special for Group A rallying. These had boxed flared wheel arches and rectangular headlamps, making them visually distinguishable from the other Golfs. It used the Synchro 4-wheel drive system and a supercharged, slightly reduced capacity 1.8-litre engine to meet the sub-3-litre Group A specification. 5,000 Rallies were built for sale at roughly double the cost of a GTI. In all, around 6.3 million second-generation Golfs were built between 1983 and 1992. The Mark III would arrive to replace it in 1991. On then to the Matchbox model, which arrived in 1985. These attractive recreations had red paintwork, 8-dot wheels, an opening bonnet, and subtle Golf GTI side tampos, along with a tasteful black trimline. The decals switched to how my casting presented for the following year, with that larger white GTI marking over a thicker black stripe. In this guise, it continued in production until 1988. After this point, it exited the US Matchbox mainline. The Golf featured in the 1987 Federal Express set, painted in white with the old FedEx logo printed on each side. Similarly, in 1989, it was painted yellow and received PTT tampos in a Swiss exclusive release. PTT were the Post, Telegraph and Telephone Agency of Switzerland up until 1998. The Golf continued in the rest of world mainline in 1989 and 1990, painted grey with black GTI tampos in the same style as the 86 to 88 models. The 1991 release was a white model with red and blue circular and triangular shapes printed across the sides and bonnet. In blue was the word abstract. This was the final mainline release before it was discontinued. Another promotional model appeared in that final year for the German market. A white car had Lippische Landeszeitung printed on it, with the LZ logo on the bonnet. This is a newspaper from the Lippe district in North Rhine-Westphalia. As you are bearing witness, the decals are really coming together now. This Rally model set are very high quality and I'm so pleased to have got them while they were still available. As always, it's tricky getting the decals to wrap around the corners, such as these tail lights. With enough wetting, they start to conform, but it is a tedious process constantly readjusting them. You'll see that remains the case when I apply the Mr. Mark Softer solution too. The Mr. Hobby top coat gloss produces such a wonderfully reflective sheen that I can't help but show it off. It also helped to lock down those previously loose or overhanging decals. Then it's straight into reassembly, as there's still a little extra touch to add in once it's been rebuilt. With the bonnet hanging in there, I lay the windscreen piece in. Following that comes the comprehensive plastic piece, which incorporates the grille, wheel arches, entire interior, rear trim, and now my added Rally fog lamps. With my washer now connected to the base after some over-exuberant drilling earlier, it screws together again. Then I primer this styrene offcut and paint it light grey. This will form the mud flaps. I attach them to the inside of the rear arches with some Yoo-hoo adhesive. I stuck to only doing the back as the front didn't have quite enough room available. Here's how my Matchbox MB152 VW Golf GTI fared before I set to work on it. It had that compressed rear left wheel, but it was otherwise an aged 1980s toy car with evidence of bumps and scuffs. This one came out in what I consider to be the prime era of Matchbox post-Lesney. There were some treasures of castings produced that appealed to a lot of markets, and this Golf ticked all of the boxes, especially with that opening bonnet feature. This is what it turned into though, a replica of Kenneth Eriksson's 1987 Monte Carlo Rally entry. I've stuck it on some BBS wheels and left the ride height as is to give it that off-road appearance. The Triumph Adler Volkswagen Motorsport livery is glorious, superbly recreated by Rally models. I was really impressed with the seamless link between the roof and side decals. Other than applying them, I didn't particularly have much to do to the casting. I introduced those fog lamps so it is ready to tackle the night stages, detailed the grille and bumper, did a bit of the same under the bonnet, and that was job done really. The decals definitely do the heavy lifting here. What do you think about the casting and my efforts on this Rally replica? Let me know in the comments and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. There's footage of Eriksson in action in the outro too, but all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.